A note to our listeners. The views and opinions expressed by our guests and hosts on the BLKFLA podcast are solely their own and do not reflect the official positions or views of any organizations, companies, or affiliations they may be associated with. Any statements made are personal opinions and should not be construed as representing their respective employers or organizations. As always, thanks for listening.
If revolution was a movie, I'd be theme music. Time to ignite what I spit is lighter fluid. Stepping into it, fixed rays, such a glorious design. Marching into the biggest fight of our lives. Time to spoil the revolution.
Welcome to the BLKFLA experience. We are the cultural archive for the Black political movement in the state of Florida, where our purpose is to help you reimagine a Florida where Black people are able to live in freedom, equity, and authenticity. I'm your host, Jamal Davis, but I do have some team members alongside me on today. I got the incomparable and the incredible National Policy Manager for Black Voters Matter, Rayane Wagner, as well as the Organizing Director for Florida for All, Chanae Jackson. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Chanae is actually one of the new co-hosts for BLKFLA.
I want to jump
so it's
in
time for us.
and just state, to clarify, I am the Organizing Director for Florida for All, but any and everything I say here is the personal opinion of Chanae Jackson.
Oh, we already got that. We already got that covered at the beginning of the code. That nice little disclaimer. And we are taking this time to dive into all things Black politics and Black culture. Let's get into it. So, of course, as we all know, many of us that's been on this podcast, we like to do this thing called Top 5. And Michelle's done it already because she's a very frequent guest that we'll introduce in just a minute. Ryan has done it already, but Chanae's a new person, so she hasn't done it already. So it's the BLK Top 5. First, we give you 2 top 5s. The first top 5, you get that one. Then the second one, we'll give you the categories. First top 5 is top 5 favorite artists. And go.
Oh my gosh. I don't know, because I'm a bit ratchet, so I don't want. Let me be appropriate. Monica is one of my top 5.
I was
favorite
going to say,
artists.
listen, this is BLKFLA. Like we in the house, so
Okay.
yeah.
So then I'm gonna be honest. So Pastor Troy, definitely Monica. Definitely there is an artist here in Gainesville that is small, which is Big Bud, which is one of my favorite artists. Down South Georgia Boys is another one of my favorite artists. And then I actually go with Pliers. So I like all of the mainstream, but no, I listen to them even before I go out and do any organizing work.
Listen, shout out to the Down South Georgia Boys, because that's how we be rolling. That's how we rolling. That's how we definitely be getting down right here at BLKFLA. The next top 5 is a great one. It is top 5 organizers and or cultural figures that have helped shape you to become the organizer that you are.
Fannie Lou Hamer, Ida B. Wells, actually Clara Hale, who was just a person that kept children actually in her particular community. Angela Davis, and then I'm gonna be real and say Angie Nixon.
She just spent the night at my house last night.
That's my girl. I go to war for her.
Listen, as will every last person that is on this podcast episode. So yes, thank you for that, Chanae, and welcome to the BLKFLA family. I'm very, very excited to have you on the hosting team. We're going to be doing some really awesome and dope things this year because last season was the season of resistance. This season is the season of power because this season is the season where we, as Black Floridians, take the power back. And it's going to start with this particular episode. And for this particular episode, I had to bring the heavy hitters on. Ha! Had to bring the heavy hitters on from each chamber. Bow, bow, bang, bang. So from the State House, we have State Representative Clearwater's finest and repping that Tampa Bay and St. Pete, heavy, State Representative Michele Rayner is on the pod with us on today. I appreciate it. Listen, air horns. Boom, 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 boom. And of course, if I get somebody from the State House, then I got to get somebody from the State Senate. And we have the incomparable, the incredible, the phenomenal South Florida's own State Senator Shevrin Jones is here with us today on BLKFLA. Good brother, I appreciate you for joining us. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you, brother, and congratulations.
Yeah. Thank y'all. I appreciate it.
Married gang.
Yeah.
Listen, thank y'all. I appreciate it. You know, personal update for me. At the time of this recording, I have been exactly married for 8 days. You know, shout out to Tampa St. Pete. That's where me and the lovely wife went for our honeymoon, and that will forever be the new getaway spot for Team Davis. Because y'all treated us right. Y'all treated us right. Y'all treated us really good at St. Pete.
We do what we can. We do what we can. You know, you're welcome. It was like it was personally me. You're welcome.
For real. Like, listen, shout out to Michele and Byron from Justice Over Everything. They gave me a nice little list of places that I need to go. And we hit all of them up. And it was amazing and excellent. You know, we'll come with that in a future episode of all the shenanigans from the wedding. Which, you know, shout out to everybody who came through and helped celebrate that celebration of love with us. It was amazing and it was wonderful and it was a great time. But now, you know, I'm back at work and I couldn't have came back at a better time. And I'm saying that with the utmost sarcasm and sincerity, because this is our legislative session recap episode, or so we thought. Because as y'all all know, when we did our legislative session episode last year with Rep. Rayner, State Senator Jones, as well as Rep. Nixon, it was to begin legislative session. Because as you all know, odd number years, session starts in March, ends in May. Even number years, session starts in January, ends in March. So now we are at the conclusion of legislative session, and we still don't have a state budget. But we're getting to that. We're getting to that in just a second. We still don't have a state budget. There's still plenty of things that the state legislature, as well as the governor, wants to come back and handle in the month of April. But first and foremost, we want to make sure that you all have a great understanding of what happened within the 60-day period that was legislative session in the state capitol, the lovely city of Tallahassee, Florida. And once again, we brought on State Rep. Rayner, State Senator Jones. Let's get into it, y'all. We had 60 days. That's my first question. For anyone that wants to take it of an elected official capacity, we had 60 days. Mm-hmm. There were time periods where pieces of legislation passed that the GOP supermajority state legislature had time and energy to pass. And there were things that passed that was a benefit for us. I want to first and foremost throw out that a certain state senator that's on this particular episode got a piece of legislation passed that is of high quality to high school coaches and school coaches everywhere. shout out to State Senator Jones for the Teddy Bridgewater Act. My first question to you is, how does this feel, knowing the capacity of the majority of what we're dealing with in both the state house and the state senate? How does it feel to get a piece of legislation of this capacity passed? And can you also touch on matters of what this legislation will do for coaches as well as student athletes here in the state of Florida?
Yeah, thanks, Jamil. And I want to acknowledge that, while I am excited about the Teddy Bridgewater Act, I think us being able to do that and getting the entire body, both House and Senate, to unanimously to make this possible for Teddy Bridgewater, not for Teddy Bridgewater, but for coaches and for student athletes, I think this is amazing. But you know what? I really wish that we were able to get some things passed that change the trajectory of people's lives. The same way that we're able to pass something like the Teddy Bridgewater Act. And I say that with all sincerity because I know that myself and Representative Rayner, we both have filed bills and good pieces of legislation that could really move the agenda in our communities. I wish those type of bills received that same type of attention. But I'll get off that soapbox for now, and then we'll get more into that conversation. So the Teddy Bridgewater Act, for those people who don't know, Teddy Bridgewater was a coach at Northwestern Senior High School who was subsequently suspended because he was helping his student athletes with Uber rides, with providing them with food and things of that nature. Anybody who have ever been down to Liberty City and have at 7:00 p.m., I want you to walk down in Liberty City at 7:00 p.m. and not want an Uber ride to get there. And that's what Teddy was doing. Teddy was buying Uber rides to ensure that kids got home safely. He got suspended. He left from coaching, went back on the field, worked for Tampa Bay Bucks. This was brought to me by Uncle Luke and also from Tangela Sears from down here. We filed it. And at first, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't know that it was going to go far at all because I said people are not going to care about this. But I spoke with Chip LaMarca. If you all know him, he is the one who brought forth the name, image, and likeness bill. I think it was 2 years ago, Michele. And so I said, well, let me go to him and see if I can partner with him and do it. And he took it on right then and there. So I said, I got a Republican to do it. We did not call it the Teddy Bridgewater Act in the beginning because I didn't want nobody to get any ideas. And so we just considered it the K through 12 athletic coaches bill. And that's where we landed at. As far as the legislation is concerned, I'm happy about it. It's on the governor's desk. He has until April 2nd to sign it. So we'll see what he's going to do.
And so my next question, and tying into that particular act, what would you say to individuals? Because I've seen it on social media, I've seen it within certain newscasts. What would you say to individuals who say that this is a piece of legislation that coaches will take advantage of and use for evil and not good?
Yeah. Listen, I always tell people that if you look at our statutes, there's two words that's used in our statutes throughout to, I guess, and Michelle's the attorney, I guess, to put the conscience back on the people, and that's the word good faith. It's throughout our statutes. So, and that's used to ensure that it's not abused because we can't legislate morale, although the Republicans try to. We cannot legislate morale. But I mean, what we could encourage good faith, and that's what the bill says. And it's true. I mean, that was one of the concerns that we constantly got was, like, what about the coaches who want to use this for? What if the coaches who want to use this for recruiting purposes and things of that nature? I'll be honest with you that even without this, they can recruit, right? And even with this, they're going to recruit regardless because within our school district we have open lines. We have no boundary. Excuse me. So students can go wherever school they want to. Coaches can go to recruit a student currently right now if they desire to. But again, we use the word good faith in there with the hopes that people will allow their conscience to be their guide, especially in any type of crazy scenario.
And that's the best thing to touch on. And I wanted to bring that up to start the process of touching on this legislation on a good note.
Yeah.
Chanae, I'm gonna actually throw it over to you because I know you had some things that you wanted to uplift as well as some questions for the good of the order as well.
Yeah, so I will actually jump in and actually state for me, I had never heard of Teddy Bridgewater until this situation actually came up. And at that time, I personally went to look and dig even further to see why it actually was an issue. And for me, what stood out is it wasn't just like Uber rides, but it was like utility bills for families. It was like food. It was like basic necessities that these kids were actually playing sports and we're wanting them to actually go to school. And so you brought up the point that you can't legislate morality, and we live in a state that we're ground zero when they want to show how immoral they actually are.
Right.
So I would like to know, like with discussions that you all had on the Senate floor, why was this bill actually popular? Because it was a great deal more popular than even I actually saw. So from my standpoint, yes, it makes absolutely a lot of sense. But what were the conversations that actually helped to people to navigate and support this actual bill for it to pass?
So on the Senate side, I'm a firm believer in the leadership circle. For people who don't know, I mean, that's I start with coalitions of power to figure out what my end goal is trying to be. So I started with the person with the most influence, and that was the person who used to be an athlete. He's the chair of the education committee, and he has in with the governor, and that was Corey Simon. While we disagree on policy, I said that, this is the first person that I can go to get his buy-in to this, because now he can be my advocate. So much so that when he put it up in his committee, which was the first committee stop, I let him close in my bill because I wanted the Republicans to see that I had the buy-in from a Republican from your side to be able to get the bill to where it was. Over in the House, I was a tad bit concerned because I did not know what story or how Chip LaMarca would be able to get it across the finish line. But I do know Danny, who's from Miami. He knows Teddy Bridgewater, and he saw this. He saw this as something that was a huge win for Miami, and who helped me actually push it through. I leaned on the Republicans to be able to get it across the finish line. And I don't know. And listen, I don't know what their impetus behind moving these type of things along is, because they have their own reasoning. And like Michele always say, as long as we get the job done, I'm okay with it.
I just wanted to highlight that because one of the things that we see a lot when things don't happen, it becomes either this side, the Democrats or Republicans. And I always want to highlight in Florida, in all chambers, the party that has been in power has only been one. So in order to get things moving, I want to make sure that it's highlighted for people to get that understanding, because for some reason that seems to be actually lost. I do see, or we got feedback that I guess if Corey was so moved by it that he actually cried as it related.
I think so. Yeah, he did. I put that in the chat. Baby, he choked up. I said, I watched that committee in real time. I said, oh, he gonna be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. He cried the first time.
So for me, Michele, one of the key pieces that Jeff touched on is coalition building coalition. How important is that? Because I know that there are moments where coalition building is very, very important within the state Senate, but because of the numbers game in the state Senate, sometimes that's not needed. However, in the state House, of course, because of the numbers game, coalition building is very much needed. How important is that to getting a lot of pieces of legislation, especially some of the pieces of legislation that you've gotten passed within the last couple of years? How is that important to getting some of that across the line?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's incredibly important. I mean, and it's a tightrope to navigate because, Chanae, as you mentioned, one of my dearest friends, Rep Nixon, we always talk about, and as well as Representative Gant and now Senator Bracy Davis, our Black Girl Magic Coalition. that we talk about you can be effective but principled. And so it is a tightrope, because if anything violates my principles, it's a complete F you, right? However, I was raised by parents who were in the civil rights movement. One of the things my father always modeled was you are able to find common ground. And so you try to find those places where we can win, where it doesn't compromise your principles, where it doesn't compromise your people that you're serving, right? It's to compromise the people that you have, who elected you to be there, and that it is for the greater good. And so, it's been a tightrope. The best example of this is that Tyler Soroy, the leader of the Republican majority party, spoke about me in glowing terms of just about my courageousness. And literally in his farewell speech, and probably an hour later, I walked up to him on the House floor and basically let him have it about how he handled a bill, how he handled one of our members, and told him like that was ridiculous. So I think the way that I've been able to navigate it is my yes is very much my yes and my no is very much my no. You're not going to ever have to wonder about me and wonder how I feel about things. As people can probably see from my social media, you're not going to really ever have to wonder. Like, I'm going to say what I want to say. And sometimes I do it at great cost. Sometimes I get threatened that bills won't get passed. I didn't have any bills make it through this session, which is not unusual for the session that we're in, especially in election year. But I was able to help kill a lot of bad bills. I've been able to be what we call ex officio. So for those who don't know, ex officio member on a committee is someone it's a committee that I'm not assigned to, but because someone is out, or it's a strategic thing that we're able to use and say, hey, listen, I know Representative such and such is really strong on this issue. We're going to ask a member who's assigned to maybe say, hey, can we sub you in so you're able to kind of kill some of these bad bills? And so some of those bills were the monument bill, was a transgender affirming care bill, don't say gay or trans at work. There was a couple other ones. So, some of the victories that you build in that coalition is that I would go talk to Republicans and be like, this is trash, right? And they'd be like, yeah, I know it's trash, but I can't really. I was like, yes, you can. You grown. You can do what you want to do. And then like hype them up to be like, you know what I mean? Like, no, like, forget these people. And so sometimes, the coalition is not necessarily what you can get past, but in what the bills that you can kill from bad policy from getting across the finish line.
Excellent. Because a lot of times we will have constituents, as organizers, we'll have constituents in the areas that you all represent ask us, well, why were they so buddy with this person when it comes to this? Or do they not know that this particular thing was in this overarching bill that got passed along the line? And I just really want to make sure that people have an understanding of how important it is, especially dealing with a state house that's supermajority GOP, a state Senate that's majority GOP, and then of course, the governor, the GOP. It's things that has to be done in order for us to make sure that we're moving pieces of legislation that are important to our people, and also making sure that we're able to get some sort of monetary resources back to the areas that you all represent. Ryan, I'm gonna throw it to you because I know you have some looming questions on the horizon for both elected officials.
So I have to navigate democracy spaces, voting rights, electoral reform, courts. And I will say being in Florida for 17 years prepared me for that. DC ain't got nothing on Florida, Tallahassee. So I would ask you, because I'm noticing a trend of decentering the white supremacist nature of the National SAVE Act. I'm being as tactful as I know how to be, all the way down to quipping over what to call it from a messaging standpoint. And so I, being who I am, you all know me at this point, I call it the Show Me Your Freedom Papers Act, because I'm not going to miss words. The national bill is anti-Black. And by proxy, other marginalized groups will be targeted. Women will be harmed by it. It is a poll tax, because I have to talk to Black communities as well about what this thing is. So are you finding with the Florida SAVE Act, the Florida Show Me Your Papers Act, are you having to walk that line as well? Because Florida did not wait for Congress to pass the SAVE Act, which, they don't have enough votes right now. I love a little infighting between the girls. But that didn't mean anything for Florida. Florida has been on this bullet train to tyranny for a while. Florida, Texas, and now it looks like Tennessee will have a Stop Woke version of Stop Woke. How are you navigating those challenges in terms of coalition, right? Because again, I'm not going to make excuses for a thing that's very white supremacist in structure. We can disagree about policy unless it's rooted in my oppression. And so how are you navigating that both in community, but also with your colleagues? I know that you have to walk a fine line, and read people for filth every now and then to know you mean business.
Right.
Tech is hard for me, y'all.
Listen. I gotta remember.
We're gonna start with Rayner on that one, and then we're gonna shift over to state senators.
Listen, I gotta remember I'm running for state senate. The people say I'm not senatorial. The people say I don't shuck a job enough. That's what the people say. But listen, I'm gonna be who I am. And I think Senator Jones does this, and we all do this in our different ways, right? So the way I show up is not how Angie shows up, is not how Gant shows up, is not how LaVon shows up, is not how Shevrin shows up, it's not how Tracy Davis shows up. We all do it in our own ways, but we all say the same thing. I don't think any of those people I just named shy away from calling the thing a thing. None of them shy away from saying what it is. And it's knowing when to say it, how to say it, and who to say it to. But I still say it's, so I may not go to, my, Democratic women's club, white women's club meeting and lean into this is some white supremacist, as I would with, maybe the NAACP, but I'm going to still say the thing. I may say it in a way that they can understand it and receive it. And so, my father always would say this, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So there are things, so I can say the same thing, and maybe it's because I'm trained as an attorney, I can say the same things 8 different ways, but still say the same thing. And still say the same thing that it has the effect on the listener and the hearer to know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't mince words when I'm talking to Republicans. I don't mince words when I'm talking to folks in community. I don't mince words when I'm talking to folks who claim to be allies and accomplices. It's just how I say it. And the people like I just named, we all do it. We just do it differently, but it's effective. And so there are times that, I may have to be a little bit more sly, a little bit more cunning, a little bit more, okay, I don't need to just come out, empty the clip out the gate. Right. But if I'm talking to my people, yeah, I can empty the clip out the gate. But if I'm talking to, a Republican that I have them on the line of being a little bit more sympathetic, I may not empty the clip in the way I would empty the clip with someone else. So I think that we know what it is. And I think that one of the things that I'm grateful for of not only being raised by who I was raised by, but having people in my life and in my ancestors is that what we are navigating now is not new. There's nothing new under the sun. our people have taught us how to navigate this. Our ancestors, even the ones who were not quote unquote educated in the ways that we think, but were more educated on how to be able to be cunning and how to be able to be to move the needle to liberation. So I think that I lean on that as well, knowing of when to speak, what to say, what not. And sometimes I may not say something because, for example, on our elections bill, our Florida Save Act, I tossed it to Rep. Gant. I've been an elections attorney, but I guess what I realized, like, for the last 3 days, I've done nothing but talk on this House floor. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to toss it over to such and such and such and such. And Rep. Gant was able to really encapsulate a story about her aunt who literally doesn't have a birth certificate because she was born in South Carolina in Jim Crow era and has worked for the government, has, all of these things. But because she was born at home, she wasn't born in a Black hospital, all of those kinds of things. So also understanding of when to let your teammates be able to speak to the thing. And then you can kind of come and undergird them. Shev, I'll toss it to you.
You just said everything. What you want me to say? So, Jamil, I also want to point out something, and I really hope people understand this. And Michele made mention of it at the top. Everybody do their politics different. And the thing that frustrates me a lot of times, even especially within this process with individuals who are watching and righteously watching as they should, it is they criticize what they don't know what's happening in the background. For instance, there's some negotiations that happens in the Senate. And first of all, let's be clear. Everything that happens in the Senate happens through negotiation because they see a lot of the crazy stuff that's coming from the House side. And so a lot of those senators, they are very moderate over there. And whether they short or not, some of those bills that start over in the House, Michele can tell you how bad they are. By the time they get sent over to the Senate like, hell no, we're not doing this. And we're going to tone it down. It's still crazy, but we're going to tone it down just a tad because y'all trying to do the most. But I'm happy I'm happy because you have people like myself, people like Tracy Davis, people like Carlos who are invited to the negotiation table over on the Senate side. I mean, and these are people who, when we were in the House, of course, the House calls for it. I mean, it's 120 people. It calls for you to just lose your shit over there, man.
Lose your actual mind.
Yes. I mean, but righteously though, right? Right. But I mean, I've seen Michele, I've seen Ashley, I've seen Angie. Righteously, you know why? Because when we see them and how they react to certain bills over on the House side, by the time they get over, not only are we looking at their talking points, now are we looking at the concern of it, but now we understand that type of energy that we need to bring. And the energy might not be there because, and Michele will find out soon enough, sometimes the Senate just doesn't call for that. It's like AME over there, okay? But
he said the state house is Kojic. The state house is Kojic and the state Senate is AME.
Pentecostal over there. We
I got it.
But all jokes aside, there is a world where people will never understand what's happening behind the scenes to actually do it. Now, here's what I will say. I give no excuses for people who vote on stuff over in the Senate that could be detrimental to communities. Like voting for stuff and like knowing that it's absolutely against your values. Like I don't negotiate on that stuff. Now you'll hear me sometime in committee on something. I say, you know what? I'll vote to get this out of committee. I really don't like the bill, but I will vote no on a bill in committee if I know that it hurts people. Period. Point blank. End of story. Right. But there are certain times where you can do that. The second thing I'll say is to Michelle's point. If we as Democrats, right? If we're going to be called the big tent party, we need to figure out what that means, right? There has to be space for people who are a Michele, Angie Nixon, Shevrin, Ashley. There has to be a space for us without trying to be called out and trying to be called leftists. And there also has to be a space for individuals who are not on that far end of the spectrum, who might be in the House and on the Senate, and they do exist. And them not being called, oh, you flaky. But yet still you Democrat, and they vote 95% of the time with the issues that we do. Because I could be honest with you, the Republicans, they'll vote with the Democrats and won't care. Won't get no backlash. I mean, they might get backlash from their constituents and things of that nature, but I mean, they're not talking about them. They're not being ousted. And I mean, it's just, if we're going to really try to grow this, what we have, let's call a thing. But it's also let's figure out how do we coexist with each other, with respecting each other and their politics and how they move.
I think and
I have so much to say. That'd be too much like right, though, friend. That'd be too much like right. And sometimes I'm gonna say something controversial, and y'all can put me out. I don't care. Sometimes Democrats need to move like Republicans. And when I mean that is that all this foolishness and infighting that we be doing, they don't be having that over there. Nope. They do in-house. Senator Jones, am I wrong?
Nope.
They do in-house. All these people running against each other, doing this, doing that. No. There is a woman, Pamela Birchford. She always said that the Republicans have given us the playbook. We just choose. It's literally the playbook. The playbook. I can't talk about the national ones. I can talk about the ones in Florida, the ones I know. But it's literally... Go ahead.
And I want to step in and say I don't think that's actually controversial. And I want to add on to it. And one of the reasons that we can't do that is because the Democratic Party pretends to not be anti-Black, and it absolutely is. At least with the Republican Party. We know what it is. They call a spade a spade. They want to argue accordingly. Identity so because we're so busy trying to pretend like we're not this, so there is that. And then people that are some Black people in the Democratic Party believe that in order for them to have this power, entertain it, and keep it, is by them playing with a playbook that does not work for us. So if we're supposed to be the big tent party and we're supposed to be this inclusive party, the way we build power is by making them stand on that. And so when our Blackness, which is so very special and which has gotten us the rights and the largest voter registration movement and done all these wonderful things. Like I've talked to Jamil, when you look even in the 1920s, which is the worst time in America because it was the Great Depression, the Harlem Renaissance. We stopped all these evictions in New York. We had the largest voter registration drive, and Black women couldn't even vote. So the issue with when we talk about the parties is not only looking at the Republican playbook, but address the anti-Blackness that's in the party that is a major hindrance on the power that we actually could have and actually leverage. And no one actually wants to have that conversation. So even when we have people running against each other, it's because they don't want the power of our Blackness in our legislature, which has always shown us to be of benefit. And I'm gonna step back.
No, girl, please come up closer. Keep talking.
The gaslighting, and it's a great. Instead, they choose to gaslight and tell Black people that identity politics is not sexy, even though this country was built off of it. We just called it white supremacy.
Yeah, but yet still the Republicans are using it to push their agenda.
Yeah,
one.
Yes,
they're using identity politics to push their agenda.
But when we do it, it's a problem.
Yeah, man.
As if these things don't connect with one another.
Yeah,
and I think it's a great benefit. Because one of the reasons as to why I was explicit about let's bring the two of you on is because watching you all debate some of these pieces of legislation during session never wavered from how it is that you felt. To Michele's point, the points that you all presented on some of these pieces of legislation, you may have been able to word it different. You may have been able to word it different. But at the same point, everything comes to the same conclusion. This is trash. We can't pass this. I'm a vote no. Thank you, and God bless. And so to that point, and so to that point, one of the pieces of legislation that I do want to touch on, that I've seen that both of you have words on, is this particular piece where the state, i.e. the governor and the State Department, gets to determine which organizations are defined as terrorist organizations in the state of Florida. And one of the reasons I want to touch on this is because of the actual debate statement that Rep. Rayner made on the floor around said piece of legislation. But I also know that it's a piece of legislation that you discussed as well on the floor, State Senator Jones. So I'm gonna go to Michele first.
I don't even know what I said because
I'm about to say go Michele first because listen,
every chance I got, I tore that bill up. Every chance I got, I tore that bill up. I think one of the things I think we have to name it. The bill sponsor got elected as a Democrat and flipped to become a Republican. After the November 2024 election. So we got to name that. So I think you have to center the conversation in this is the bill sponsor who got elected as someone who's pro-life, got elected who is someone who's pro-immigrant, got elected as someone who is allegedly anti-Black, got elected as someone who the ideals that we extol, that was her premise of getting elected. That was also one of the reasons why no one challenged her in her primary and in her general. So that's number one. The moment she switched, she went full MAGA. I mean, the antithesis of what the people in Broward County, and if you're in Broward County, election is coming. November is coming. Vote people out that don't align with your views and values. So that was that. Secondly, she is an attorney. Whether I agree with how she moved, I understand this. She's a very brilliant attorney. She's not dumb. I know that because we used to be friends, right? And we would talk about the law. So she knows that the bill that she filed is actually false. And one of the things that I was able to lock her in on, I said, can you tell me how many cases have gone to final judgment where a court has enforced Sharia law or other foreign laws? She says, well, they've been litigated. I said, well, you can litigate anything. I could litigate a ham sandwich if I want to, but that doesn't mean that it's enforced. That doesn't mean a court has ruled on it, an upheld foreign law. To this day, I am waiting on those cases because she said on the floor she's going to give them to me. Baby, we are it is March 20. What is it, baby? March 22nd, 3:54 p.m.
You should do an op-ed and ask for it.
I should do an op-ed and ask for it.
That's my type of carry on.
That's why I love you. Yes. You my type of petty. You my type of carrying on.
Yes.
I am still waiting on it. I do not have them. So you know that it is fallible. She talked about a divorce that's happening in Broward County. Anyone can assert whatever they want to in court. That does not mean that it's going to get passed. So then we circle back to let's call a thing a thing. One, you want to get reelected. So you're leaning into the nastiest parts of the GOP platform, which is othering people. And so not only othering brown folks, but also othering Black folks, because there is a time, it may still be a time as well, that the NAACP and other folks, maybe Black Voters Matter, and other folks was considered terrorist organizations, enemies of the state. Alex Preddy, Renee Gordon, when they were killed, shot down and killed in the street by ICE, immediately the narrative is that they were terrorists without any evidence. There's no judicial process. So when I tell you I'm hot about this bill, I'm hot because one, as I laid the foundation, this was a woman that was elected as a Democrat that switched right after the elections to become a Republican. She's leaned into the nastiest parts of being a Republican. And third, she knows better. And she knows that there's actually no basis in law for this. And I have no respect for someone who is a lawyer that took the same oath at the Florida bar that I took to uphold the Constitution, to be honest and have integrity and file this kind of foolishness. And so my thing is that it's leaning into the nastiest parts, and she knows it not to be true. And it's not just going to harm quote unquote Muslims. So I want to let Black folks know who are listening to this, this is no other situation, baby. Because if they come for one, they're going to come for all.
That's what the CIA did. So let's name that what the CIA did to justify the murder of Fred Hampton. So when you go and actually look, it was the exact same thing. And then they rewrote history. So it is now that people are just learning that the Black Panther Party was responsible for these free health clinics and responsible for all the litigation in courts. And they rode around with the law books and police to police in the free breakfast program in WIC. Those were not the things that have been taught to people. So to name very clearly, it was not that the Black Panther Party were these radicals that were out like destroying and harming people. Literally was they were calling the government out for what they were not doing for people and providing what it is that they said the government should have been providing. And so now the same thing is happening with organizations, which is what we do. We're calling the government out for what they're not providing, what they're not doing right. And then at the same time, we're trying to provide those things. So getting people to understand that anything that is horrible, it is about Black people. I know that's an uncomfortable conversation to have, even as we're having the conversation now about the 14th Amendment and have oral arguments on April the 1st. It all starts with us, whether people like it or not, it's all about us. And even as we're having debates about immigrant communities, and some are aligning with the ideals of like white supremacy and different things. I want us to lean into the ones that are allies, because no matter what, it's all about Black people. And I know that sounds kind of arrogant or cocky, but it's the truth.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's how you have to connect it with folks.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm having a sound delay, so
no, that's fine.
I'm not talking over you.
No, you're good right now. That's fine. But I think also to your point, Chanae, these individuals, these people know what they're doing. Yeah, they know a lot of these policies are unconstitutional, and the idea is not for them to stay within those state Supreme Courts once they're challenged. Their idea is for it to go to the Supreme Court, so the Supreme Court can make a decision on a lot of these things. I mean, let's not kid ourselves, right? They know exactly what they're doing. Like Florida, like they know this bill is unconstitutional, but in the Supreme Court, and Michele, you know it, they're gonna send it to Judge Walker. Judge Walker he's gonna deem it as unconstitutional. They're gonna appeal it, and then once they appeal it, it's gonna go. I mean, so we know the playbook because we've seen it for 8 years now. And so I don't think we should be surprised. I don't know. The only way, and Michele said it at the top of the hour, and I'll say it again. The only way we change and get out of any of this crap that we're in right now is we have to change the numbers. We have to look at who like those seats that we have happening from the state Senate, from the state House. We need to get out of the super minority in both chambers, and we have an opportunity to do that this cycle. But it's basically based on how serious people are making that happen.
Absolutely, and absolutely. Before we move on to the next piece, Rayner, she got to depart from us, but Rayner in August as well as in November is vying to become state senator.
Yeah,
Rayner. So talk to the good people about that before you leave from us.
Yes, so well, I am, and thank you. I always love my time with y'all. I wish I had a little bit more today, but I do love my time. State Senator Rhyane is termed out. So it's State Senate District 16. It encompasses Tampa and St. Petersburg. And currently an area that I represent now. I represent about 40% of the Senate district. And so this is a district where I grew up in, a district where I have a business in, district where I have a nonprofit in, a district where I've organized in, a district where my parents grew up, fell in love in, built their family, and a district where I can vote for myself in this district. And so really, I had to really contemplate on even if I was going to run, Shev is one of my best friends, as many people know. And we had a long conversation about if I even wanted to do this. There was a moment that, this world gets tiresome, right? The world that we're in, this process can be very tiresome. But there's a premise that I believe, not only what my parents share, do much is given, much is required, but there's a premise that I believe, and I believe deeply, that a better world is possible.
That's right.
I believe that. I believe that. I know it. That is how I think about things. And so for me, this was less about, well, it's the natural progression. People call it that. To me, there is unfinished business that the people of Senate District 16 and of House District 62 have. And I haven't been perfect, but I think that I've been principled in my representation. So we have a primary on August 18th, where it was quite interesting. That was the date I won my first election. So Kismic, and was there when my first election when they told me I was going to lose, and I won. And so we have a primary. So we're doing what we've always done, even when I wasn't, in a contested election. We're knocking on doors. We're talking to people. We're having these conversations. We're letting people know. We're reminding them of the work that we have collectively done together. And then after we get past the primary, we have a general in November. So, my ask is for people to go to www.michele with one L. So michelleforflorida.com. I would ask that you would donate your time. If you do not have time, I would ask you to donate your treasure. If you don't have time and treasure, I would ask you to donate your talent. So whether that looks like, making phone calls, knocking doors, donations, making signs, whatever you feel to aid in our movement. I will tell you that I'm not a corporate Democrat. I'm not bought and sold. So you have to. So our campaign is 100% people powered. No one put me here. No one told me this is what I should do. This was really a collective conversation with our constituents over the course of about 2 to 3 years of really making sure that this is what made sense for our district. And I'm grateful to have the support of Senator Jones, because y'all know he don't put his name on everybody now. He don't put his name on everybody. He do not, friend or no friend. He don't put his name. He do not put his name on everybody. And so I'm grateful to have his supportive folks like Rep. Nixon and Rep. Gann. I have basically the majority of both House and Senate Democratic caucuses supporting me, and really, but it's the supportive people. So once again, go to Michele for Florida, www.michele for Florida. Michele is with one L, and join us, because a better world is actually factually possible.
I want to make sure that Ryan can jump in just because it's been a sound delay. Before we let you go, so sorry. I just wanted to make sure you could jump in because it's been a sound delay, so we've been cutting you off before she leaves.
No, I'm good.
Okay. And I just wanted to say, I know everybody's thank you. So you're actually one of the people that I love and adore. And even in Tampa, I try to make sure that anyone that I come across that is there, that they are following and paying attention, and then actually guiding them to you as well. And so I'd love to actually follow up where there are some joint canvases and things that we're setting up. If we can help by actually getting your materials out, we are actually happy to do that. And different people that'll be tuning into this podcast.
Let's make it happen.
The power is in elections. I know for our people, we're learning that because it's not felt like that. But if you actually go look up both people that are on our panel, the fight sometimes get lost in the shuffle, what's happening large scale. Just go back, look at any of the videos, watch Channel 12. You will see what they are doing for our people. And it is not easy to go there each session, and they are doing it. So we got to do our part to keep them there.
Thank you so much. Don't make me cry. I'm a crybaby, so don't make me cry. I am a crybaby.
Well, we're gonna talk to you later, Rep. Rayner. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Senator Jones.
Yes, sir.
I know that this is a good question that we can ask of you, and you can give us the good rundown from both chambers' perspective and all the things. So, March 13th was the end of session, allegedly. As we ended session, we ended it still not passing a state budget. And so and I say we because the taxpayers, the citizens, the constituents are the ones that are going to be pretty much footing the bill for this. We are coming back in April for a special session. Mm-hmm. First off, why did we come to the conclusion of regular session without passing a statewide budget?
Because the House and the Senate could not come to an agreement on budget allocation. So they could not come to an agreement. Everything has to match. Bills have to match. Appropriations have to match. I think the House and the Senate was off by like $1.2 billion. Billions with the B. You don't know what those allocations are. The public don't know them. I mean, between the House and Senate members, you can go online and see where they're trying to make allocations at, but it's so messy. It's very hard to track it. But they don't have any budget allocation, so therefore that means that they could not come to an agreement of how much money the state budget should be this legislative. After this session for the budget for next year.
And so with that, it has been stated to us that April is when we will be coming back for this special session around the budget, tentatively after Easter.
Right.
However, we did also receive word during legislative session of a special session that is occurring on April the 20th around this redistricting situation. Yeah. My question is, will both issues come together as one collective session, or are we looking at two separate special sessions around these two particular issues?
I don't know what the rules say, right? Because so first of all, what people have to understand, I know the governor he gave a date where he wants a special session to happen. The governor can't call a special session, right? The two chambers have to come to an agreement of when a special session is going to happen. Now, I think they're going to go along with what the governor is, what he wants, but that's still up in air because the Senate has not convened nor had a conversation at all within these 60 days when it comes to a new map. The Senate president has made it clear. He has said it publicly that he believes that us doing a mid-decade redistricting is unconstitutional. And he also believed that it's dangerous even for the Republicans because basically you are shooting in the dark and hoping it stick. Because if you're doing a mid-decade redistricting, you don't know who's moved in, you don't know who's moved out. So without a census, you're really just trying to hit and just trying to throw a dart on the walls and hope it stick. Now the budget has to be voted on, and now it has to be redone. What people don't understand is that because the budget was not completed during the legislative session, the budget process has to start all over again. So that means they have to re-put some of those things back into the budget, figure out what that budget allocation is going to be, and they're going to have to come to a decision on that. And then we conference, going back and forth with the hopes that it match. Now, remember, we can pass a budget, but that budget still has to go to the governor's office. And if we don't give what the governor wants, the governor could veto the budget, and then we have to come back and do it all over again. So it's a whole process that has to be done in the matter of weeks. Well, I mean, we have time because you have to do it before July 1.
Right, exactly. And that was the thing that I was going to bring up, that we could be looking at actually this back and forth process happening all the way up until the July 1st deadline.
Absolutely.
And I also want to thank you for pointing out the fact that throughout legislative session, even before legislative session, when we were in committee meetings the previous year leading into this year's legislative session, the Senate president has stated time and time again, there is no docket on the floor. There is no paperwork on the floor in regards to redistricting or mid-decade redistricting for the state of Florida from the side of the Florida Senate. Yeah. Can you give me, as much as you can, your viewpoints on your perspective as to why the Senate has stated we're not doing anything around redistricting, as opposed to the House that created a select committee has stated time and again, whether it's the Speaker of the House, whether it's the governor, or whether it's the head of the Florida GOP, that we come in and get at least 3 to 5 seats. Why has that been the order? The order from the state house perspective, but from the state senate, it's we don't have anything on the books for mid-decade redistricting this year.
I can't speak to why they're in that position right now, because the Senate president and the governor are pretty close to each other but not the House, not the speaker and the governor. I can't speak to why they have not come to that conclusion yet. But what I will tell you is that there's probably individuals who are within the Senate staff and administration who are probably telling the Senate president that this is not popular amongst Floridians. Truth be told, they have a poll was done, and like 83% of Floridians were like they don't like gerrymandering. That was from Democrats and Republicans. Now that could be a case, but it also could be the case of you got the congressional Republicans who are lobbying the senators and saying like, y'all, please don't do this, because if you do it, you're going to cause some of us to run against each other. You had Rick Scott and other people who calling into the legislature and making it clear, like, you all doing this it doesn't work well for us. And I think it's going to backfire on the Republicans. I'm going to be very honest with y'all. I think it backfires on them. I think they're making a big mistake because the polling numbers on Republicans currently right now just do not match up with what their fantasy world in which they're living in right now. So while they trying to do this mid-decade redistricting, I do not think we go through it. I could absolutely be wrong, Jamel, but I don't think they go with it because I think it causes too much of an uproar. And we're about to run out of time before they can do a mid-decade redistricting to make it balance.
And remind me, the particular piece of legislation that they were trying to pass in the House, where they slipped an amendment in to try to push qualifying period back for everybody to June. What was the status on that as far as like from the House perspective and the Senate perspective?
I can't speak to that. I can't speak with the House, but I think the Senate, they stripped that language out when it bounced back over. I read about it over in the House in Florida politics, that they put that amendment on there, but by the time it came back over to the House, they had stripped that language from out there.
Exactly. And so we're still looking at April qualifying period for federal candidates,
right?
Whereas for statewide candidates, it's June. So if we're at a place where both chambers are at a standstill when it comes to mid-decade redistricting, even before we get to April 20th, which is the alleged date for this mid-decade redistricting special session, we're either past the qualifying period or maybe a week or so away from the qualifying period. Either way it goes, people have already qualified for federal races before we even get to this special session.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, but remember, they're in charge. They can change these rules as much as they want to, right? Now, and it doesn't make it right. And the Supreme Court is not on our side. So that's a moot subject, and it's not even worse. Us going even fighting over the short period of time we have. And I think like Michele and I spoke about this in Black Caucus. Well, actually the Black attorneys, they spoke about it in the office, is that we need to be proactive when it comes to a lot of these things that we're seeing right now, even with the SAVE Act. I wish our Black Caucus, I mean, while we are active, I wish we would have caught this early, because I think this is something that we should have been ahead on early on within this conversation. Because listen, Florida always want to lead with stuff. So when federally, when they started talking about SAVE Act, we should have known Florida was about to come with something like they did with this mini SAVE Act that they put forth. And I know some supervisors of elections are going on the news and saying, "Oh, well, it wasn't that bad." Then if it's not that bad, why are we changing it? If we have the most safest and secure election system in the entire country, as the governor says, why do we need to come back every year and make changes, right? It just doesn't make sense. And I'm with Ryan. Like, listen, what I'm not going to do is sit here and watch you play patty cake as you oppress me all at the same time. That's not going to happen. We're going to call you out on your BS every single time. Yeah, and embarrass you. Yeah, you should be in the paper, because when that happens, Republicans, they come and they often say, "Oh, you're gonna have to quote me like that." Well, don't do dumb stuff. Then I don't have to say stuff like that in the newspaper.
Well, and then there's the Calais decision. Right. The Calais decision has not come down yet.
It hasn't come down
yet.
There
are states out here that are like, we just waiting until the Supreme Court give us the green light.
Yeah.
Like, this is not. So whether or not, right, this redistricting set, however it goes, right, there is still, Calais would cut CB, like, that has state and federal impacts on our representation. And that is a scary prospect, given that the South, we've had to drag kicking and screaming into the 21st century on all fronts from a democracy and voting rights standpoint. And if you take out Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, come on, like, regardless of how, let's be clear, Governor Kitten Hills is at the end of the line, but the Supreme Court in DC said, we still got plans for y'all.
We got plans for y'all.
And that's a huge cut to our CBC representation. It's 11%, I believe, cut to Congressional Hispanic Caucus. So they coming for everyone. And so, you know, that's the backdrop we're dealing with. And like Chanae said, birthright citizenship, where I'm telling Black folks, hey, how you think we got our citizenship after emancipation?
Exactly.
We would be rendered stateless.
And
easier to deport, if you ask me.
No, seriously.
But you know what's crazy? The crazy part is, I don't like, you see how we're breaking this down. So we understand it, but I think people, I look at Facebook and I'm looking at Instagram, I'm looking at TikTok, and I look at people's comments, and I'm like, yo, that people really think this is a game.
No, they do. So that's what I wanted to name as well. In 2022, nobody's actually even talking about the maps that were deemed legitimate.
Come on,
and we lost that. Nobody knows that most of Black people live in North Florida, where we have the least representation. And like, even Madison County is one of these like prime examples of that. They literally have the highest percentage of Black people, and they have the least amount of representation. And then you see things coming out of there, like the thing that just happened with the teacher that's saying the N-word, hard R, very nonchalantly, like, what you're going to do. They don't have a grocery store. They're getting rid of the last actual grocery store. People don't understand. And then Florida, we have the second and the third largest immigrant and Black population. So therefore, when we don't understand just how detrimental this is, why are they changing all of these laws in order to minimize the vote of this very large Black and immigrant population? And so we are, and they've done a very good job. Now, I have those debates with people, with Hispanic people, they align with whiteness. Well, that's white supremacy. And then with them, Black Americans don't do this. Well, that's white supremacy. Everybody is subscribing, yes. And then Ryan said it best. And then Black immigrant stories are what gets lost in the translation the most. Even when we're having conversations about deportation, Black immigrants are being deported at 30% higher rate, and there's not even a conversation about it.
Ain't
They're
talking about
the
that.
ones that are in the detention centers the highest, and nobody even talks about it.
Talk about that.
And so with that State Senator Jones, how important is it for you to help spotlight Black immigrant stories when we're dealing with something like the statewide SAVE Act? And what is your call to action as we're moving into what could be one of the most important special sessions, as well as one of the most important elections that we're going to have primarily in this state? Because I really want to make sure that we focus on the fact that in this state, we have the opportunity, once we come out of the August primary, to help put possibly a Black woman in the United States Senate and a Black individual who cares about our issues and who cares about our causes into the governor's mansion in the state of Florida?
Two things I'll say. I think that, first of all, we as Black folk should not depend on any institution to pull our people out. I'm going to say it again, and this is not a knock against the party. This is me just being very frank and honest when it comes to Black folk. We heard it and it's true. There's nobody coming to save us. We got it.
Mm-hmm.
We need to move like we understand that nobody is coming to save us. Any institution that's being built for Black liberation needs to be built by Black folk. And we need to be the ones to figure out what does that liberation look like and mobilize our people as such. It's not based on a party, Democrat, Republican, or Independent. It's based off of the needs and who we are and what we desire and where we're trying to go. And I think we need to get very serious about that. Because the idea of this constant push for us, giving us something to vote against rather than giving us something to vote for, is where we are missing the mark, right? I don't give a damn about the candidate. What is the candidate going to do when it comes to not just my liberation, but the liberation of the people who convene with me? Like, do you care enough about that is a question that we have to ask. We do have candidates who run. You have Andrew Nixon who's running for the U.S. Senate. I don't know the other gentleman who's running. You have Jerry Dimmons. You have David Jolly who's running, and who's running for the governor's race right now. I will be very frank. I'll be very frank with you. Like, we've seen Angie's fight. I know Angie she's a fighter. Like, and we know that she's going to get there and fight for us. I know Jerry will fight for us. I heard of Jolly and his fight for us. And the question that I want to ask, not so much to either one of those candidates, the question is, like, who, as you made mention of, Jamil, who's for our Black liberation right now? Because if y'all haven't noticed, there has been this slow progression of the pulling of not just our rights, but pulling of our resources in our communities. When you look at the legislation like the diversity, equity, and inclusion rollback in municipalities, when you look at things like the Voting Rights Act, Ryan said it best, all of this stuff is built in anti-Blackness, whether you want to believe it or not. And a lot of people who are within who we call our colleagues within our party have subscribed to the same thing. And so that's why I am leading with the fact that I'm not trying to say denounce the institution, but what I am saying is we cannot continue to depend on the institution to save us. And so my call to action is for us, individuals who have platforms, individuals who are in these spaces, individuals who are in these organizations, while we speak to the choir often, like, what is our agenda that we're doing to get these folk who are not in these conversations, who are not in these podcasts, who are not going to these forums, who are not going to the HOA meetings, who are not going to the Crime Watch meetings? How are we getting to Mr. Brown who just hanging out under the tree over on Sis Trunk? How are we getting to Miss Colleen, who's probably in Liberty City, and she just like, how are we getting to those people, right? The same people who we're going to them and asking them for their vote, and we're asking them for always asking them for something, but we're not giving them anything. I'll end with this, and I'll share it. About a month ago, I went to Leslie Estates, which is down here in Miami, and I did a tour of the facility. And as I was doing a tour of the facility, they took me into a woman's home who this woman had a hole in her closet. The room in her child's room, the water had done dripped into, and it was mildew and mold. There was a hole in the bathroom, in the bathtub where they can't even take a bath. They have to stand up and take a shower. I walked out and I was in tears, and I looked at my chief of staff, Kai. I said, Kai, you know what's crazy? These are the same people in November. We're going to come and ask them to come vote for us. This lady can't bathe her child. She got mildew in her house. She got roaches crawling in her house, but yet and still all we're concerned about is being elected. So when you want to talk about like what we got to do, first of all, we got to start really looking at making sure that whatever policies that we're doing, that people actually feel it and they can see it. And that you can see it also, because listen, poverty is a visible thing that you can absolutely see. It ain't blind. It ain't invisible. And so elected officials, both Democrat and Republican, are contributors to what we see in our communities right now. And the people who we are electing, the people who are running, we need to make sure that these, like the Angie Nixons of the world, like the Michelles of the world, these people who truly fight for people, we got to get serious about making sure not just elevate them, but we got to get serious about electing more individuals like them.
I think that is the important piece of all of this. Not just going to ask these people for their vote, but really checking in and really making sure that we're subscribing to taking care of the issues that are important
right
to these people, and making sure that we're pointing them into the direction of the resources that they can gain for those issues that are important to them. Chanae.
I want to name that those resources don't exist, so we have to build something new.
Okay,
so even what he named, so like right here in my own city, right now, like I'm one of the people helping to build out teams to take on our Gainesville Housing Authority, and I'm in a quote unquote blue dot in a red state, so we should be doing the right thing. And my city is governed just like a rural community or any other, or just like they govern the state. And because they're a quote unquote a blue dot, the very people who should be at the table with me doing the advocacy to fix those things are not, because in their minds we're protecting our power. But what power do you actually have if the people should be actually benefiting? Right now, they're trying to get a $26 million grant from HUD, but our housing authority needs to be totally dismantled. And the same things he's describing, people have been living with for years, and they're afraid to report it because the Gainesville Housing is taking away their voucher in a place that they can't live. And I'm talking about older adults who don't have ADA accessibility. I'm talking about a housing authority that's had over 110 employees in the last 5 years. So systemically and structurally, our people that are elected and have been elected are fully aware of what's happening. And the people that need the advocacy the most are the ones who are most fearful because they have the most to lose. And so that means it requires a structural change, but then it also requires people who are not directly impacted to care enough. And typically the people who are most prone to vote are the ones who have a little bit more privilege. So they really buy into that people that receive like subsidized housing actually don't care. And that's not true at all. So getting people to understand, and then when things don't work, they blame the people and that are part of housing when it's not working, is if they've not done their part. It couldn't be further from the truth. I have a list of like 74 people that I've engaged in this process that are all fearful, but that are now nudging to the table because they feel like they are alone. And the arrogance of even housing like the attorney. So wanting people to understand too, my final point is that even when we elect people, we have to be alongside them. So I think part of us is we still think that if we support somebody, they're coming to save us, not understanding structurally that one person is still one person in a body. And the way that they push things is actually through the people. We leave people to go fight the battles for us, not realizing they're more successful with that battle if it is that we're meeting with them every quarter and say, hey, are you moving our thing forward? If we are organizing within our community, so when they need to go argue a point on our behalf, then we have a motivated group of people that are actually there. There's this puzzle piece that we still got to take ownership. Even our elected people, they're working for us, but that means in collaboration with us and beside us. And I understand that we are just surviving a lot of times and we're trying to make it. But if that puzzle piece doesn't happen, even people sometimes who sign up to run for us, in order to help them stay true to themselves, we got to be on that journey with them. And I want to help to change that thought process for people, for them to realize the way people handle your business is you still got to be a part of that and helping to guide that. And you have the power to do that. Our resources you help to pay into.
Chanae, can I say something? I'm gonna be done. We can close out. We are the only group of people that we allow people to negotiate us out of our own.
Yep.
Y'all do it that way as you may.
Mhm.
We're the only people.
Clocked it.
The only people
Yes.
who allow people to negotiate us out of our own interest. And I'm gonna leave that at that.
And that's a great way to actually lead this episode. Ryan, Chanae, I appreciate y'all now being on the team with Team BLKFLA. We got to have a really, really great season this year. Chev, I appreciate you coming through as always. We call you and you always show up.
I do,
and I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that.
I'm sorry I got to leave y'all. Listen, my mama, she said we having dinner at 5:00 and I need to be on time because I'm late every Sunday, y'all.
Oh no, you do. I appreciate that.
Pleasure. We appreciate you so much.
Listen, y'all, this is Jamal STEELE, and this is Team BLKFLA showing y'all love and appreciation for joining us on this BLKFLA experience. As always, stay free, stay blessed, and continue to get acquainted with greatness. We are out.
You know, Tuesday on mind, about to bring it to you. If revolution was a movie, I'd be theme music. Time to ignite what I spit is lighter fluid. Stepping into a fixed race, such a glorious design. Marching into the biggest fight of our lives. Time to spoil the revolution.